strange part isn't that people talk over you. It's that they don't even realize they're doing it. You're in a group. Someone makes a joke. Someone else jumps in with a story. You open your mouth, add something useful, maybe even sharp, and the conversation slides right past you like you never spoke. No eye contact. No follow-up. The group keeps moving, and you're left with that quiet, unsettling thought. Did I just disappear? Here's the uncomfortable truth most people miss. Feeling invisible in group conversations usually has very little to do with what you're saying, and almost everything to do with how the group has unconsciously ranked you before you speak. This isn't about confidence in the motivational sense. It's about a hidden social rule that governs attention, respect, and conversational gravity. Once you see it, a lot of confusing moments from your social life suddenly make sense. Picture a familiar situation. You're sitting with friends, co-workers, or classmates. The energy is decent. People are relaxed. Someone dominates the flow without trying. Others chime in effortlessly. You contribute something reasonable, but it lands flat, not rejected, just absorbed into silence. Most people respond to this by trying harder. They speak louder. They add more details. They rush to be clever. Ironically, that often makes the invisibility worse. Why? Because group conversations aren't democratic exchanges of information. They're dynamic systems of attention, and attention doesn't go to whoever has the best point. It goes to whoever the group subconsciously believes matters in that moment. That belief forms fast. Faster than logic. Faster than fairness. Here's the first real insight. Groups don't listen to ideas first. They listen to signals. Ideas are evaluated after the signal check passes. The signal is not volume. It's not intelligence. It's not how correct you are. The signal is this. Does this person increase or stabilize the group's social energy? Or do they require energy to be accommodated? That's the invisible filter. People who feel invisible usually assume the issue is expression. They tweak wording, tone, humor. But the real issue sits one layer deeper. The group hasn't assigned them conversational weight. And conversational weight isn't earned by talking more. It's earned by how you occupy space before you talk. Here's where things get counterintuitive. The people who are listened to the most are often the ones who speak the least. When they do speak, the group adjusts. The rhythm pauses. Attention narrows. Not because they demand it, but because their presence already carries value. That value is not moral. It's not about being better. It's about predictability, emotional steadiness, and perceived self-containment. Quick pattern interrupt. The group is not ignoring you because you're uninteresting. They're ignoring you because the conversation doesn't need you yet. That sentence usually stings, but stay with it. Groups operate on efficiency. Attention is a limited resource. It flows toward people who seem least dependent on it, and away from people who seem to seek it. This is why the same comment can land completely differently depending on who says it. A neutral observation from one person feels insightful. From another, it feels unnecessary. The content didn't change. The social framing did. Now here's the misunderstanding that traps a lot of thoughtful, socially aware people. They believe being agreeable, attentive, and supportive will earn them more inclusion. Those traits are valuable one-on-one. In groups, they can quietly reduce your perceived social weight if they're not balanced with something else. Why? Because groups don't reward contribution alone. They reward self-direction. Someone who constantly adapts to the group is useful, but not central. Someone who seems internally anchored becomes a reference point. This doesn't mean dominating or controlling. It means not orbiting. Think about how people react when someone enters a group already emotionally complete. They're not scanning for approval. They're not rushing to align. They're not over-explaining. Their energy is contained. That containment signals something powerful. I'm not here to extract value. I already have it. Groups respect that instinctively. Another pattern interrupt. Attention follows emotional independence more reliably than charisma. This is where attraction and respect overlap. Not romantic attraction necessarily, but social gravity. When you feel invisible, it's often because the group reads you as someone who will still be okay if they're overlooked. Or worse, someone who is trying to be okay with it. That effort leaks. Subtle signs give it away. Jumping in too quickly, filling silences, softening statements before anyone challenges them, laughing a half beat early, adding disclaimers, explaining why your comment matters. None of these are flaws, but in a group setting, they communicate a lower bargaining position for attention. Here's the escalation most people never consider. Groups don't just respond to what you say. They respond to what would happen if they ignored you. If ignoring you costs nothing emotionally or socially, they will do it without malice. If ignoring you creates tension, uncertainty, or loss of value, they won't. This is why silence can be more powerful than speech. Silence from someone who usually contributes weight shifts the room. Silence from someone who hasn't been assigned weight barely registers. That's the uncomfortable math. Now, before this sounds bleak, here's the crucial reframing. Invisibility is not a fixed trait. It's a temporary role the group assigns based on current signals. And those signals can change without you becoming louder, more aggressive, or fake confident. The biggest shift happens internally, before anything external changes. People who stop feeling invisible usually stop trying to earn space and start assuming space is neutral until proven otherwise. That assumption alters posture, timing, and emotional tone automatically. You don't have to script it. Another pattern interrupt the group often feels your relationship to yourself more than they hear your words. When you're internally braced, waiting to be accepted or rejected, your contributions carry that tension. When you're internally settled, your words land cleaner. This is where emotional control quietly becomes social power, not suppression, regulation. Groups trust people who seem emotionally predictable under uncertainty. That predictability feels safe. Safety draws attention. Think about moments when someone disagrees calmly without defending themselves, or lets a comment hang without rescuing it, or doesn't rush to clarify a misunderstood point. Those moments subtly reframe their status. The group adjusts. Most people never notice this shift consciously. They just feel that someone's words suddenly matter more. Here's what changes when you understand this rule. You stop interpreting silence as rejection and start seeing it as feedback about positioning. You stop chasing conversational openings and start noticing rhythms. You stop measuring yourself by airtime and start measuring by impact. You also become less reactive. Being talked over no longer spikes urgency. You don't need to reclaim the floor immediately. That alone changes how the group perceives you. Ironically, when you no longer fight invisibility, it often fades. This isn't about playing games. It's about recognizing that groups are not moral systems. They're adaptive ones. They respond to signals of stability, not effort. The people who command attention rarely think about commanding attention. They're occupied with something else, maintaining their internal state. One more pattern interrupt. Respect isn't given to those who want it most. It's given to those who seem least altered by its absence. That doesn't mean indifference. It means groundedness. As you internalize this, conversations feel different. You speak when you actually want to, not when you feel you should. You let some moments pass. You allow others to lean in. You're no longer trying to be seen. You're letting yourself be noticed. And that's the quiet shift where social power begins. Not from dominance, but from self-containment. When you walk away from a group conversation feeling calmer instead of depleted, something has changed. When being overlooked no longer shrinks you, the group senses that too. Invisibility loses its grip when it stops defining you. Not because you finally learned the perfect thing to say, but because you stop needing the room to confirm that you're already here.